Well, good morning, everybody.
This thing hits me right in the
10
middle.
a.m., ready to start our City of Laredo Port of Entry Advisory Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And we'll start with a roll call. Monica Salinas, not here. Carlos Fernandez, not here.
You'll be late here.
Excuse me?
You'll be late.
Yeah, when he gets here, we can make a motion. Ricardo Cervantes, presente. José David González.
Present.
Present. Porfelio Quintanilla.
Here.
Here. Luis Hinojosa.
Here.
Rick Laurel.
Present.
Arturo Dominguez.
Here.
Hermilo Richard III, here. Gene Lindgren is also not gonna be here. And Rodolfo.
Here.
Roberto Garza.
Here.
Robert Morris Jr.
Here.
Gary Jason Hinojosa.
Here.
Jerry Maldonado, not here. And that's it for now. Nobody pending notes. We got all our members in. Perfect. So citizens, any citizens' comments? Do we have anything with anyone?
No
Okay.
citizens' comments.
So we'll pass on to item number 4, approval of the minutes for March of 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Chair,
And
I'd like to move that we move item 1 and 3 to the end
okay,
so that we have Mr. Fernandez here to make comments. I think he's taking care of the people from Guadalajara that are here, but he should be here later on, maybe 10:30, he said.
do we have a motion to move items 1 and 3 to the end?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
And we'll go to item number 2, update by committee member Robert L. Morris regarding the pilot program for the ramp closure from FM 1472. Yes, Ms. Limon?
Mr. Chairman, if you may, I missed it, did you make a motion to move item 1, was it?
1 and 3.
Seconded
And
and,
3, to move it at the end.
was it seconded?
Yes, by JD.
Okay.
Not a second, and then we're all in favor.
Perfect,
Thank you.
thank you.
Update by Mr. Morris regarding the 1472 onto Loop 20 and any other matter incident there too. Would you have to just give us a brief?
So I'll just give you a brief little bit of a history.
Well, yeah, basically, yeah, history and what's happening now, not more than.
So towards the end of last year, the traffic was getting pretty thick. I feel like I'm in an echo. Is that better?
Yes.
The traffic was getting bad to go on Killen Boulevard from Sarah to Mines Road. It was taking an hour and a half sometimes, just because there was just no movement on the lights on Mines Road. There are other issues. It was just congestion. And if Mexican Customs went down, and towards the end of the year with the holiday stuff, it seemed like they were doing that regularly. Even today, they're still doing it semi-regularly, but the idea was that when Mexican Customs went down, we became a parking lot out there on that area. And so we just had to get a group together to say, what can we do? And so we started meeting back in December to talk about, we got together with people from trade. We got the city was there. We had some representatives there. Council people were there just to discuss issues that we could do, what ideas, brainstorming, if you will, to try to, what can we do to fix some of these issues? Obviously, the most important thing we came up with is we need more roads. But any more roads, as we all know, are 4 or 5 years down the line minimally. We got Vallecillo and Char Ruthinger, but both of those are 3 to 5 years before we start to be able, we can't wait for 5 years to fix this congestion. So we narrowed things down to a short term. What can we do with short-term fixes? We identified quite a few things, and we've been working on those one at a time. We started with the lights and the control of the lights. We have the police out there in the afternoons, and this is primarily for southbound, but they were out there with control of the lights, and so we started to see the flow get a little bit better, so we're able to keep things flushed through, if you will. And it always worked until Mexican Customs slowed down or stopped or whatever, and then that right lane going south was always stopped. And then that caused further congestion off all the side streets and everything else. Drivers coming up from the side wanted to cut in those lines, et cetera. So the latest thing we did in the update as part of this report here is that we closed the ramp, the westbound ramp, when you turn right on Mines Road, from Mines Road onto Loop 20, there's a ramp that goes up towards the bridge. We closed that ramp. All the trucks that are going up there are no longer have access to that. Nobody has access. It's closed completely right now. And it was started as a 2-week pilot. That pilot was over last Monday, and we got together and voted to extend it for probably indefinitely, but for 2 more weeks for sure. We can't say it's indefinite until we get with the state or the federal because it's a federal road. But the suggestion is that we not change back. So when we closed that ramp, all the traffic was rerouted to the flyover. And so instead of getting into the queue to go to the World Trade Bridge from Mines Road right there, they actually have to go to the end of the line on Loop 20. And that was worked pretty well.
So you cross underneath and then turn your left and go all the way around? Or
No, there's
or
a
you go
flyover,
before
there's a flyover.
Milo?
There's a flyover there.
There's a flyover from Mines
Oh,
Road
that's
right
right.
after
Okay.
Killam, that takes you, flies you way over and then it drops you off. And then they can get off there and do a U-turn to get onto Loop 20 if the line is not too far back. But once the line extends past the on-ramp that they would have to do the U-turn, that would block up all the traffic again. It'd be no different. So they either do a U-turn there, or if it's blocked up past that, or the line extends past that, they can go straight on to McPherson or to International and do U-turns and get on and form the queue on Loop 20, depending on where it ends, right? We worked through some issues the first few days. Mexican had 2 holidays, and so they were working half days, and so we got to experience some of the worst part of it right as we got started, but that was good for us because we were able to communicate with the police department to help direct some of that traffic and push things through. But we've done a survey. Carlos Fernandez helped me do a survey with the transfer drivers, and the whole thing has been favorable to all of them. The majority of everybody that we polled thinks it's favorable. So I can take any questions you have from that.
Just the results we've seen in Mines Road and the lines, how have you seen, how are you guys measuring that?
So the congestion now, before, I live out in La Bota, and so when I would go home, and I work out at mile 13, which is also some congestion points, right? But it was taking me 45 minutes an hour to get from mile 13 from where I work on Carrier Drive to La Bota. Because I would come home, it would take me 20, 30 minutes to get out of Carrier Drive onto 35 to go south. And then when I got off on Killam to go to the house, it was taking me 45 minutes or an hour just to get through some of that congestion. It doesn't take that anymore. It took me 5 minutes the other day to get down Killam to Mines Road. So in that sense, it's been very successful. All those side streets are flowing now. When I got home in the past, just as a personal testimony, I would stay home because it was too inconvenient to get back out and fight traffic 30, 40 minutes to get anywhere. Now we get out, we leave, and traffic flows. You might wait 2 or 3 minutes as the lights cycle, but once you waited 3 minutes or so in a particular light, it opens up to green and you flush through.
Do we still have police officers controlling the lights there just in case for these couple,
They
this
are.
pilot program?
They are.
Okay, so that still helps the flow, the police controlling the lights.
So previously, they would line up on the far right side all the way back, and it would make lines all the way back to the cold storage. Single line. So now, I don't think I've seen the lines on the loop past McPherson, because there's 3 lanes of trucks instead of 1. So I mean, it's working, and it's worked well. I work at an ITC, 4.9 miles to my house. It used to take an hour and 45 minutes sometimes, so I'd have to go around.
Yeah.
But ever since that happened,
It's been awesome.
yeah, and get home in 5 minutes.
Can I add a little bit to this? So it started with the funding for Charruth Insert from 52 million to 140 million. So this group got together and we did the first meeting to talk about that, why it went from 52, and that was over. Then we started talking about Mines Road, and that's when they invited a couple of officials. Vanessa was there, Richard Raymond was there, TxDOT was there, and so that's how it all started. But basically, the ideas came out from here to do a control line to Mexico, and that's where they decided to put all the trailers on top of 69W, and it's worked. There's a chat for all the people involved, and so we know exactly what's going on, and if there's a problem, if there's a driver that removed a bail or whatever, they go fix it, they go wherever the problem is at. So there's a chat, and there's also cameras from TxDOT that Vanessa shared with us, that we can be monitoring.
Well, through this, they've given me access to the cameras, the live cameras, so I can go and check throughout the day to make sure that they're not backing up too much. And when they are, we have this WhatsApp group that we're able to communicate through to share with the police. The Captain Gonzalez is in the group and he's overseeing all of this. He helps direct traffic when it needs to or whatever. When we know that the line is backed up or stopped or really slow on the queue going to World Trade Bridge, we call Ms. Limona, she calls her contacts in Mexican Customs and they do whatever and it starts to flow again. So things are working very, very well with it.
Well,
I don't see
that's
them
great
ever-
that's great to know, and glad that worked out. I guess, I don't know, Ms. Perez wants to comment. I know you have a lot of backlash on your social media, on people that live on that area, so a good thermometer we see now.
I'm sure they're happy now.
Have you seen it, different? approach?
Yeah, because what happened was like, so when I first came in, right, I mean, we've always had this traffic congestion, but the trucks would block the intersections to the neighborhoods. And even after putting police and everything, it's just, you can't babysit every intersection. And I guess the trucks don't know how far back they go or whatever, so, you know, they're
care.
blocking and then we had that Super Street project where we were talking about eliminating the turns, and so it just wasn't working out. And it kind of came to the idea that, well, why are we allowing them to make a line if they're queuing right here so close to the bridge that the traffic line is on Mines Road? If we can move that line over, then we can keep Mines Road free for that movement. And that's what we've seen. It's like, some people still complain about congestion, like around the Loves, Green Ranch, you know, those areas, but I mean, it still doesn't take away from the fact that the volume of trucks is just so great that we're still having to accommodate the volume. And it isn't until you get to Killam that you've got like the east-west option. So for the majority, like my constituents are happy because they don't have that bottlenecking going on with all the trucks there that are just trying to get in line. It had helped.
I have a question. What does that congestion look like now on north and southbound flyovers on 35, trying to go towards Mines Road on afternoon where it's congested? Like, is there some sort of signage or something that can say, hey, deviate? I haven't seen that aspect because I never get to Mines Road through those avenues. But I do travel through there and I see that the flyovers are full, and I would hate to be a car stuck in all those trucks for 3 hours.
Well, the way that we kind of got around that was we just basically told the public is if you don't have any business going into Mexico, just don't go on the flyovers. Because the flyovers are supposed to be shortcuts, but it's not a shortcut when you're going right into traffic and then you don't have any way out. So I think for the most part, the public is not taking the flyover. So if you're on the flyover, then you're in queue and line. So now it's just a matter of merging. And most of the day, it's not an issue. It'll happen around certain peaks of the day. And then I think we're trying to figure that out. But one of the reasons why this idea came about too was because every meeting that we would go to, the state would make it, even when we had the Border Trade Advisory Committee, the state's priority is the highways. They're not prioritizing 1472 farm to market roads. They're not looking at these border communities like Laredo and all these border ports that they have all these farm to market roads that need work, and 1472 wasn't on anybody's priority list. It's on ours, but it's not on any. So I figured, well, if we can put the traffic on the highways, which is what their priority is, then they can, you know, figure out from there, like make it more visible. So I think they're still trying to tweak and accommodate those types of issues, but at least the traffic is now on their radar more. So I think we've pretty much handled it with police. I know Mr. Morris is very big on having the police there to cut it off and try to manage that. It is an issue, but we're trying, I mean, the volume is still gonna be there.
So the issue with the flyovers getting stopped is when the queue extends past the off-ramp from those flyovers on Route 20 where they exit off. And so when it gets to that point, we will coordinate and communicate with the police officers, and they actually shut those flyovers, so they're not able to go on there now. And so it pushes them onto the access road and pushes them to go and do a left on Loop 20 East, so they can go to McPherson or further to get into the queue before it ends. And so those are what we noticed, that some of the drivers may not have known that that was an option. So actually, we put it out to everybody, and I've talked with, we've worked with ATC, with Conacar to kind of publicize it to the drivers that are crossing, even with Alpha. But the idea is that some of the drivers didn't listen or whatever. So today or tomorrow, you should see something from TxDOT showing that these are the alternate routes when it's booked.
Yeah, because the US drivers coming into town, if they don't have to get off on Killam, and they get off on the loop, like I could see their frustration of being in line for 4 hours before.
In that case, we have to
The
talk about
Okies,
signage, but.
you know, for no good reason.
We're worried more about the southbound trucks going to Mexico and how that works. And quite honestly, the only 2 or 3 times where those flyovers have gotten backed up were those 2 days at Mexican holidays.
Yeah.
Everything else has been working pretty well.
Just a question, I know on this, this was for a pilot program, yes, obviously there's extreme success on this, I know I heard it from the trading members as well, that it's working quite well. Few complaints, but still, like you said, you know, it's obvious. Can we make this a permanent now, or is it gonna be continued to test pilot?
Well, I asked TxDOT that question yesterday, and they said they have to run it by the federal program because it's a federal highway or something, so they have to get like some permission, but
Permission to cancel the on-ramp or permission to what?
permission to cancel the on-ramp. And they were actually talking about creating an off-ramp to accommodate the situation that you just referred to, where you get on and you have to get all the way to Mines Road to get off, kind of deal. So the public or the drivers are actually making their own off-ramp. So they're thinking close the on-ramp and make an off-ramp closer, so that
Right
they
in front of
can come on.
Expediters, where there's a
Exactly.
bunch of like dirt pathways.
Oh, that's where everything, no?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I don't belong in this line, let me get a.
I guess they're gonna take that carve and they're just gonna pave it and make an off-ramp or something.
Well, okay, well, thank you very much. I think it's a great project, great pilot, and just keep us informed.
Can I add a little bit more?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The design for the World Trade Bridge back in the 2000, before 2000, it was because of the situation that we had on 35, what they did is they did the queuing for 200 trailers to be parked before they got to the first street, which is Mines Road. Now that it's 3 lanes, because they could probably fit more trailers there. So that was part of the design. The Green Ranch, which is the problem with the lights now, because it take like 2 minutes to change. You have the Green Ranch people coming out of a wide street from Mines Road, and then you have the medium in the middle, which is huge. So by the time that car passes, that's why it takes so long, but it has to be synchronized. I think that's the next step, was to synchronize
They have been working on those.
the lights. And then that super street, I don't know if you all have had the opportunity, they were gonna do a super street at Mines Road where everybody was gonna be doing turnarounds. It was pretty dangerous for cars to be struggling with the trailers. But this is like the concept, but with the trailers on 60. So if they make the wrong turn going to the bridge, because they're gonna have to make a U-turn and go all the way back and then do a U-turn and get on. So everything is gonna be flowing, but they do have to close when it's past that on-ramp. They have to shut it down so they can keep on flowing and nothing stops. And then the last thing on the Mines Road, it just doesn't block the resident, but it blocks business as well. So the trucks were blocking business, not just the residents.
Which that's kind of also been resolved, right?
It's been resolved, thank God.
Okay, well,
That's it.
thank you. And then, just now that you were mentioning that backlog for 200 trailers, is it closed all day long, or is there like an 8 to 10 a.m. when it's open because there's no traffic? So you're closing it all day, permanently all day long? Okay. And it wouldn't help it open like the first hours where we could see that there's no,
Too hard to communicate with the drivers when it's gonna be open and closed.
well, you need like a cop there, just like a permanent person there, and then whatever, see, it's backlogging, then close it, and then, so that won't work.
Well, it might, but we just felt like it was better to close it.
Yeah, I think it's better to train them from the get-go that that's not an option. But I think, even
No,
though,
but I'm seeing this
even in low volumes,
Yeah.
you have to get them onto the loop, because that's what can handle that amount of traffic, not
No, it's just
my
us being in logistics, it's sometimes kind of in the mind, like, I have to go around when there's no traffic, cut in and fill the queue, and then stop it. It takes you, probably one day it'll take you 1.5 hours, another day probably take you 3 hours.
I think it's too much,
Just-
I think it's too much management.
But I guess
to do that.
you guys have that under
Part
control.
of why we extended the 2-week pilot is that TTI is doing TxDOT hired TTI to do the study on this.
Okay, well, good.
And so they took numbers those first couple of weeks, and they're still working on them a little bit, and they'll have the report out, I think, by the end of the month. But the idea is that initially, anyway, it doesn't affect the time that greatly.
Okay.
We're talking.
No, I'm glad you're including TTI and all this, but of course, yeah, TTI's,
Just real quick, Vanessa, I know that you said it's a temporary program, you have to look at the studies. Can we continue extending success, or we have to sit there and wait till, Vanessa, Rob?
Yeah, so TxDOT kind of just said that we agreed that, like, for example, Epi was like, made a joke when Robert tried to give an update, a comment on some of the drivers, and Epi said, oh, well, why didn't we do it sooner, kind of deal. Like, I think TxDOT agrees that it's a good program, and I think that their intention is to continue it, because we already talked about if we open it back up, then it's gonna go back to, people are gonna try to, go there, and then it's gonna go back to so right now, people already know the residences, the residential users and the business users already know not to kind of get in that queue, not to go there, like, it's just a little off that they have to kind of get in line. So I anticipate that this would be a permanent change because of everything but I think TxDOT's hesitant to say, yes, it's permanent until they get that clearance that they need federally. So they were doing the TTI, they were gonna give that to the whatever federal agency they need approval from. And then once they get the okay, it should be. But for right now, they have it under a pilot program, so they just keep extending it.
Do you have a plan B in case they don't authorize it?
No.
keep pilot.
Well, we're gonna be like the reconciliation pilot for customs, it's just going on.
Well, I mean, you could put a police unit there and just deviate traffic. If that's your plan B, if it happens.
We can talk about that if it happens. We'll come up with a plan
Unfortunately-
here.
Well, good job, okay, good job. Any other comments?
Unfortunately, it has to be a permanent, and it has to be a concrete barrier, because the drivers were pulling them and trying to. find
Oh,
their way
in the
to
long
get
run,
in.
yes.
Yeah.
If they do it permanent, it has to be something in concrete, because at the beginning,
Yeah, and it's not
drivers
really
were.
common to see an on-ramp to a major highway just currently closed, it's like, boom, there. I never seen them on like, I know, they're working on construction here and there, and you see them in San Antonio, but it's like, oh, this on-ramp doesn't exist anymore, it's like a bridge, and then no, but,
We're
they did it wrong, and now we're correcting it, that's good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Morris, for spearheading that project, and anybody who else was involved, Arturo, Ms. Perez, and everybody else, because I think that's great for our community, and we love, like we all said at the beginning, we love the smell of diesel, and that's what makes Laredo money, but we get it moving faster out of the way, get it out of there. Okay, thanks, guys. So we'll move on to item number 4. We did 2, item number 4, yes. An update by bridge staff on the insufficient fund U-turns, auto replenish accounts, WTB expansion, and any other matter incident there too. Everybody has a report there on the World Trade Bridge. Insufficient funds is the one that's stapled, and its first page is World Trade Bridge, April 2023, compared to March. So, Mr. Ken Richards.
Hi, Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, if you can see, I gave the handouts for March and April for World Trade Bridge, as well as for Columbia that is attached behind it. Looking at World Trade Bridge alone for February, just to let you know, go back to those numbers, we had 307 U-turns for February, March, 340, and then happy to report for April, we went down to 250. So we are seeing a decrease. 20 months ago when this started, we were at a high of 525, 550. So getting it down to 250 U-turns for the month of April is really working well. I checked with staff this morning, and for the month of May for World Trade Bridge, we're about 150, 160. So we're anticipating that number to be somewhere in that 240, 250 range. But we are giving out flyers, letting them know of the penalties involved. Also, the penalty just went up this past Friday on March the 19th. If a truck comes in with no funds on their account, we hit them with a $50 NSF fee plus $4.75 per axle, what would be the crossing toll. And then we, of course, U-turn them, get them off the runway, and then once they get money into that account, they come back through.
Perfect. And just to add to that, for our new members, no, just for our new members, this was a problem we were having, and the consequence, we calculated about a 5 to 6 minute stop for every trailer had to stop and turn around and stop traffic. So we were stopping that. So we went from 500 to 5 minutes, 2,500 minutes a month of backed up traffic to now 250, and now it looks like this month we're going to 150. So, and that's, a couple of times a day for it to happen, 400 or 500 times a month. That's happening a couple of times a day. So that was part also of the backup problem and the bridge. So this definitely is gonna help. So I just want to bring that little history back to our new members.
And we are continuing to educate our customers to get in with the program, with the auto replenish. There is also another handout that was given to you, looks like a pie chart.
Correct.
And it's informing you as to how many accounts, 5,330 accounts are on auto replenish, and of that, 4,800 are commercial. I'm sorry, that's the total number of accounts we have for commercial, 4,800. Non-commercial is 13,000. So in the auto replenish, commercial is only 1,165, and non-commercial is 4,165. So we are educating our customers to get with the program. They all have accounts because, of course, they cannot pay cash in the lanes, but we are pushing to get them auto replenish so we can try and keep them out of the office, and automatically updates their account so they can continue the flow of traffic much faster.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, this is, I think, like I said, probably 99% of the companies that cross southbound are Mexican carriers. Good, continue the efforts with Mr. Fernandez and the Canacar and the all associations from Nuevo Laredo, for them to keep telling their partners or our associates that own trucks in Mexico, hey, use the auto replenish, and the $50. For now, it's working. Yeah, a little bit, but the auto replenish is definitely gonna help us get there faster. Well, great job there.
We do
Mr.
have
Richards. Thank you.
bulletins, flyers on our doors, plus when they come in to put money into their account, we're letting them know as well. Hey, it'll prevent you from having to come to the office, just set it up and you don't have to, come on in.
And it's right in front of where you pay, because I have to go fix one of my cards.
Exactly, yes, sir.
And
It says right there's information there.
big,
Set it and forget it.
important notice. Yeah, it's pretty.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
We're doing everything we can, yes, sir. Thank you.
Gave us a revenue to budget to actual, is that part of what you're gonna talk about, Mr. Richards? or Ms.
Ms.
Limon?
Limon has that information.
Perfect, thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee. Betty Limon for the record. I provided you the revenue report as of April. We posted online. It's on the city webpage as well. And on the traffic distribution report, which is the last page that you have on your report, if you go to the city website under bridge, under reports, you can go all the way back to the fiscal year 2010. Should you need additional statistical data, and that gives you a breakdown of what crosses through what bridge, and of course our pedestrians only through Bridge 1, and then we have non-commercial vehicles. And then at Bridge 2, we have non-commercial vehicles and the tour buses. And then at Columbia, we have non-commercial vehicles and commercial. And then World Trade, you have commercial. So it gives you a breakdown, it gives you different percentages, daily, monthly, at the bottom of that spreadsheet. But like I said, if you need additional data, you can go to the city webpage and you can find data all the way back to fiscal year 2010.
Okay,
I'll bring that report to you all next month.
okay, thank you very much, very useful.
So,
Can I have Ms. Limon?
can I have a question?
Yes, sir.
Well, I have a question, can I ask you? There's a huge variance on what we've budgeted and what we've gotten because of the growth in volume that we've seen. Since October is 3.3 million, but just this month it's almost 1 million. How is that budgeted, or what happens with that variance? Because is that something that we could funnel into infrastructure issues? Really go
Okay.
straight to general fund with the city, and there's nothing we can do about it until
You have to add that on.
Previous meetings, I provided you with the resolution on the flow of funds. For that resolution, half of the revenues stays at Bridge and the other half gets transferred to general fund. Any excess revenues that are generated transfers to the capital improvement fund. And that is.
Are there ever
used
any
for-
extras? Are there ever any extras?
There's
We
3.3
do
million.
have
Well,
an
the
increase.
difference, you just said the difference goes into the general.
Right, half goes into the general fund, so automatically whatever revenue we generate that exceeds budget, then it'll go to general fund, the other half will stay at bridge. But at the end of the fiscal year, when we close out any, we don't use up all our expenditures, right? We don't use 100% of our budget. And then the excess revenues that bridge gets flows into the capital improvement fund. So should there be a request by the committee wanting to possibly use the funds for whatever infrastructure, then we can present it to council and then they can decide where to appropriate monies.
And that would be done in September or October, or when? When is the fiscal?
Okay, the budget
October.
workshops are in August, but throughout the year, I guess if there are any requests for infrastructure projects, then we can present.
Good morning, members of the commission. Rosario Cabello for the record. Okay, so I'm gonna explain one more time so that maybe we could, in a basic term. There is this resolution that was approved by council and is also looked at by our rating agencies very carefully. And so what this says, that all tolls generated, 50% go to general fund and 50% stay at bridge. It first covers its debt service, whatever debt we have. One of the things to keep in mind is any current debt that we have when we issue bonds for infrastructure, because I think it was asked. And I see something on your agenda that you're saying, well, let's start looking maybe at a proposed bridge. So when we go out for 50, 80, $90 million worth for infrastructure, for a future bond for infrastructure, that's where it will come from. So the first thing that gets paid and the bondholder wants to see is that we pay off the debt service for the bond. Then after that, all her expenses, whether it's administration, bridge 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all there. It gets, and then anything remaining, like Ms. Yvette Limon was saying, is it goes into this fund called Capital Improvement Fund. And that's for projects having to do with any city project out there that may be needed, maybe additional roads. And that's how we're able to fund some $5 million a couple of years ago to be able to do street improvements, particularly in the industrial areas. There's money there to be able to start fixing a lot of those things that are there. And so that money hasn't completely been spent by Public Works to be able to do a lot of those streets, not only there, but in other areas throughout the city. Also, to be very honest with you, there is a little bit of money within, let's say you get more money, like the $5 million that was there. Perhaps there needs to be other city-related projects that are currently used, but primarily it's for bridge. And so that is what we use it for.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have a question. So one of the things that I've been noticing is like the auto replenish. And I'm looking at the numbers from April and March, and it looks like we've increased the amount of accounts with auto replenish, but we've also increased the number of accounts. Like in March, we had 18,014 accounts, and then in April, we had 18,173. So there were 57 new accounts. But then when you look at auto replenish amounts, it looks like there's only a 40 account difference on the auto replenish. So it looks like we're getting more accounts, but we're not making them sign up to the auto replenish. And I thought that we were making the policy that if you're gonna open a new account, you have to sign up for the auto replenish. And then we were working towards getting the older accounts on the auto replenish. So it looks like we're growing, but we're not keeping up. And like these 57 new accounts, we should have at least 57 new auto replenish accounts. So 17 of them got away with not signing up. And then what progress are we making towards the old accounts to be on the auto replenish? Because if you look at the turnaround numbers, you have one account with 7 and one account with 6, so 2 accounts, that's already, 13 U-turns that we could knock out just by getting those 2 accounts on the auto replenish. So at what point are we gonna say enough is enough and we can't have you doing 7 U-turns a month? Like, it might not seem like a lot, but every single U-turn is 10, 15 minutes that everybody else has to wait. And if we're not even keeping up with the new accounts to be on the auto replenish, how are we ever gonna make progress to get these 18, to get to 18,000?
This is in general for all the system, not just commercial. So this also this is for Laredo Bridge, the normal, the 18,000 accounts and the 5,300 accounts. Then you have to go down to the commercial to see which ones have increased.
But even then, like.
No, yeah, what I'm saying is, I think what we try to do, it wasn't for the normal bridge that to enforce them to do auto replenish. What we're trying to do it is for the commercial only, right? The making sure any new accounts go to auto replenish with a valid credit card. That was for the only commercial.
I guess, yeah, but.
Yes.
I have a question. For that $50 fine that you were talking about, is it always $50 or does it increase after a certain amount? Because if you were to say, well, I'll pay the $50 fine, screw it, 7 times, but if you were to say by the 3rd time it goes up to 1,000, by the 4th time it would boom, boom, boom.
We started at 25 for everybody, and now we talked about phasing it out, but a lot of control in the system has to be manually. So we just decided to pop it up to 50 for everybody now.
But every single one, like if you have this one account that has 7, it's just times 50 each.
Right.
And we'll see that result now on May, because we just started the $50 at the end of April.
That's right.
Oh, okay. May 19th.
Yeah.
So these passed for just at 25, and now we believe that with $50, it's gonna hurt because for the drayage, I don't think nobody makes $50 on the drayage, so that's keeping the profit. So that should help bring it down. So we'll definitely see that in the next month. But yes, we talked about that, it was just hard to control.
Yeah, it is.
So we just
Incremental fines.
But to go with Ms. Perez, so we got 250 more accounts open and only 57 got auto replenished, but that's in total. And then we go to
Commercial, it's 30 more.
the commercial work, commercial is
30 from 4,807
to 837.
to 837, so it's 30 more. And on the auto replenish, have 17 more accounts on it.
Yes.
But even if I may, even if you look at the no auto recharge on the commercial only on the 4th quadrant
Yes.
pie chart, it says in March we had 3659, and then in April we had 3672 that are not auto recharge. So that means that we've got more accounts, but they're not all on auto recharge.
I think your point is on the new accounts being obligated to be on the auto replenish account. So we only got from the 30, we only got 17 on the auto replenish.
We got 40 on so I'm confused with that one because it says automatic recharge, CC, that's with the credit card. We added 40 there.
But that's new and old.
But we are also adding new accounts. So
Yes.
what I'm saying is that every new account needs, I thought we were gonna have that every new
That's not-
account needs to be auto replenished.
We are, Councilmember, staff is forcing it on the customers, but some refuse to put a credit card on file. We've been monitoring the accounts to make sure that we let them know that they don't do auto replenish. And if, they have insufficient funds, then their trucks are gonna be U-turned, and at one point, we'll start inactivating tags so that their crossings, their tags won't work. But, I know there's some customers that do not want to participate, leaving the credit card on file and having the 3% charged on their account. So we continue to work with these customers. Also on the non-commercial side, some deposit $20 or like the fee for a $20 deposit, I'll deposit. So we're monitoring, we are opening accounts. We're based on the committee recommendation. They asked us to push for the ABI so that we can have less cash paying customers and focus more on the ABI. So we're trying to balance everything out. And also, for the committee's awareness, I met with Robert Peña from Traffic Safety, and we're looking into putting out an RFP for a consultant to study the whole process, the U-turns and how to make it more effective with technology and not the use of staff, because at times staff doesn't communicate fast enough to say, okay, let more trucks go. So we're working to put an RFP out so that we can do this more efficiently and do it with the use of technology rather than with the use of employees.
And just to follow up on this, can we deny the accounts and also the ones that repeat violators say, you're off ABI, you're gonna have to start paying cash on this crossing, just to let them know, hey, it's a benefit to be on ABI.
I mean, keep in mind, all commercial accounts have to be on automatic. We don't allow cash in the lanes. So if we deny opening an account to a customer, then they're gonna choose a different port to cross through. They can't cross through Laredo because we're not allowing them to,
Well,
then
They're local dredge companies.
how will they cross if there's no cash?
They have to
can't
put
use-
it,
They have to put a credit card. They'll force them to do the credit card, yeah.
They have to put a credit card.
Can I say something? Sure, thank you. If they don't want to put a credit card, can you make them prepay? Can you have to?
The prepay is depositing into the ABI account. That's a prepay.
that's a prepay.
You deposit, and when you cross, your toll gets deducted. That's the prepay.
That's why everybody does it.
That's,
That's what many
But
do.
then-
They just don't-
That's the alternative.
No, that's a number one thing to do. What we're trying to do is have a backup credit card, so
Right.
when they finish the money, it automatically replenishes one time, like every time you cross and have funds, it goes and charges your credit card.
Correct.
Or every time you're going below $22, it automatically replenishes, so when one of your trucks crosses, it has money. That's what we're trying to do.
Understood.
But everybody is prepaid.
right.
well, if I can add, I think the problem isn't so much that they maintain money in their account, is that when they are trying to cross, that they have that, fee, that $30 fee or whatever the fee is, that they have that money there so that we don't have to stop traffic and make them come and pay.
Correct.
So the way to avoid that is to have a backup method that if they don't have it, then we automatically charge it, right? So I think we're talking about two different things. We're not talking about auto replenish, that they have to pay a 3% fee to maintain an amount in their account. Like, that's a business option that they have on how much they want to put in their little budget for that. But what I'm referring to is looking at the turnarounds. If you get up to the bridge and you don't have enough money, we're either gonna have to stop everything so you can pull over and turn around, or you have a credit card that we just charge on file.
You can't force,
But if
but-
they don't put a credit card on.
but you can't force them to put a credit card? Why can you not
Well,
force them to
especially
put a
with the
credit
new
card?
accounts,
We can't,
we shouldn't. I thought we
it's our
were going
system.
to.
You open an account, you have to put a backup payment, and that's it. Like, why are we giving them the option to put or not put?
What about a $500 deposit if they don't want to put a credit card?
No, but then when they finish it, same thing.
No, a deposit has nothing to do with whatever they prepay.
Well, a minimum limit of 500 to have an
They
account
have
with.
to have a deposit, and that has nothing to do with the monies. If they don't pay, if they don't put money, they
Yeah,
don't
but then
prepay.
you're gonna use that 500, when they finish it, how do you get them to, and they don't
There's no deposit. We can't set aside a different pool of money to say, pull from this first, and then if this.
Just set up the,
Then put it on.
force them to
I'll-
use a
I'll-
credit card.
I'll continue to work with legal to look at the contract and make
And see if
sure
we
that
can
it.
enforce the credit card.
But what,
Stipulates it on the,
Well,
when
Contract
they
with-
open an account on the application, there has the do's and don'ts kind of thing.
that's our contract though. I thought
Yeah,
we
we
had
could-
already said that all the new accounts were gonna, because if we don't force the new accounts, then how are we ever gonna keep up? Like, we're already being outpaced.
Right.
Because we're growing and we're not keeping up with every new growth on the auto replenish. And that's the only way that we can for sure avoid a U-turn situation. So, I mean, to them, it might not be a big deal, the $50 or the $25, but it's costing us in efficiency.
Time.
Industry.
Everybody else is paying for them not keeping up, so how do we make this fair? And if we're letting new accounts sign up and we're not forcing them to sign up with this system, then, I mean, I don't understand how that's gonna be efficient for us and sustainable in the long term.
Right, I'll go back with legal and get back with staff and see what the issues they're having with the customers that are refusing to participate in this program.
Y Mr. Fernández.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. I'd like to acknowledge,
Llegando tarde.
No,
I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Fernandez.
Tus socios, ¿qué dicen de los U-turns?
Sorry, I didn't acknowledge him coming in. A motion to acknowledge Mr. Fernandez.
No dices mucho y los que caen en estos problemas, caray, no, o sea, se podría solucionar muy fácil, ¿no? Y le hemos dedicado mucho tiempo. Hace tiempo hablábamos, y tal vez son cosas que ya se agotaron, pero si tuviéramos antes de ese lugar algo que el operador pudiera ver, su balance, y que hubiera adelante un U-turn sin entorpecer, solucionaría todo. Yo no he ido o sea, no he revisado físicamente el lugar. Si pudiéramos poner un lector antes, ¿verdad? Y ya el operador que sepa que no trae, se regrese donde
Ok,
no entorpezca.
Ya platicamos de eso.
If I may, Mr. Fernandez, yes, part of the RFP, I'm working with traffic safety, part of the RFP is to evaluate our property, our facilities, so that it can pre-read and not charge the toll. And then have a queuing space to allow the truck to get out of the, I guess, tolling area prior to it getting to the booth. So we're looking at that so that when we put the RFP to get the consultants, get a pre-read so that they can be able to get out of the traffic lines or get out of the roadway and go back rather than have to wait till they get to the booths and then U-turn. So that would be part of the RFP.
Sería otra medida que nos ayudaría, pero creo que no se puede saber quiénes están incurriendo en estas para ir directamente con ellos a influir para que tengan ese cuidado. Tampoco se puede.
Andre?
No,
No, but this
do
is
know.
confidential information. It's like going to a bank and saying, dame la lista de todos los clientes que no tienen fondos, pues no te dan. This is confidential information. They're your colleagues in international trade. So Bridge staff does call them and does make them aware that their account is negative. They had U-turns so that they can move on.
Otro punto final, el operador se da cuenta cuando ya está bajo el límite, ¿verdad? Pero supongo yo que no dice a la oficina. Si ese aviso se mandara a la oficina de forma automática o correo electrónico.
¿Cree usted que los operadores, al que más le afecta, que no crees que usted que sea el operador? Que se tenga que regresar y tenga que perder tiempo y perder otro cruce.
No necesariamente, depende de las políticas de cada empresa.
Pero-
porque el operador puede cobrar, no es culpa de él.
No, a lo que voy es que está perdiendo tiempo. Yo digo que es mala administración de la empresa, sí saben. Por eso digo, el operador sí le está avisando, oigan, ya no hay saldo.
Bueno.
Siento que, pero que sí les anuncia, ¿no?
Lo ideal es que el operador se comunique con el gerente de la cuenta. Tenemos fondos, puedo cruzar, sí, no.
Bueno, pero si pudiéramos mandar ese mensaje para evitar que el operador diga, todo eso es el sentido común, ¿verdad? De que sí le debe decir.
Lo voy a poner en
veces no
contexto,
lo hacen.
porque ya nos pasaron el reporte del mes pasado, que no estaba. Hay 100 cruces, 100 retornos menos.
Sí.
Y la aplicación de los $50 entraron en mayo 19, que es este mes. Y creo que ahorita el reporte que daba Ken Richards hace unos días, llevan 150, otros 100 menos. Entonces ya le bajamos bastante. Esos $50 ahorita mismo ya ayudaron. Y yo creo que vamos a ir ahora sí ya ajustando. Van a sobrar ahí los 100, 120, 130 cada mes, ¿no? Pero creo que está funcionando. Ya se empezó a funcionar. Ya les está pegando.
I think we're getting out of context of what we can and cannot control. We can only control what we offer to the companies.
Right,
And I
right.
think that if we going back to the point of putting a credit card, forcing them to put a credit card, we'd fix all this. I don't think we're gonna restructure bridges to be able to make sure that companies have money in their accounts
Right.
to pay us. I think that's going above and beyond what the city should do for customers. If I owe the light works at my house, you think that they're gonna bend it backwards for me? No, they're not. So I think companies need to have their due diligence to be able to have money in their account. And like you said, Mr. Fernandez, it is a company issue, not a city issue. So we shouldn't assume and go into details of what companies are doing.
But the repetitive,
Just one question. From this company that had U-turns, how many have the auto replenishment with credit cards? Do we have that information? I think that's important information to see
We'll
what's
put
the
it-
bottom
For
line.
the next report, we'll let you know who's auto replenishing.
Because for example, a lot of those have the credit card,
Probably
so it's an
don't
issue with.
because they-
Maybe it's not even working, maybe it's
Correct.
expired.
Yeah.
Question,
Yeah.
can we share this list or not?
Can you share?
Yeah.
That's
Soy el
generally.
primo, como presidente de la asociación de ustedes, deben anunciar a sus colegas para decirle, oye, ahí está en la lista ya.
Yeah, that's generally.
Yeah, if it's given to us, it's open to the public.
Yes.
But they don't have any names.
Yes.
so-
It
I
doesn't
know,
have-
but it's enough to
doesn't have
give
any
to his
names, so-
colleagues and members so he can tell them, hey, we have this problem, and you guys are the drainage company association, we can get rid of this problem, and help the city.
Yo le enseño eso a mis hijos y todo, pero ya los asociados no es lo mismo.
We'll continue to encourage the participation in the auto.
Do we have a
replenishment.
marketing program for this that we can share also? Because I think we had made a marketing do we have one available that we can share with the committee so they can?
I'll send them what we were doing on the auto replenishment for the ABI.
I think it would be good to make a push on, I mean, because it's costing everybody time, like, we're talking about efficiency and everything,
We're
and this
talking
is
about
like.
it for too long.
Sure.
Can
Can I just make a last comment about that? I would think that infrastructure, like what you said, so that would be much better than, I mean, both policies are good, enforcing, but remember that we have to keep our port competitive. That's a big part. If we have a very hard hand, and maybe many of the companies that don't have auto replenish, but they're not, they're working good. I mean, they're not having U-turns or whatever. If we're gonna make those companies pay for 2 or 3 or 4 companies that are just behaving bad in that matter, in that sense, I don't know if it's a very good idea. But the having the technology, like Carlos says, that to have the operators know if they have balance or not, and if they don't, get out of the way before they make a mess of traffic.
Right.
That would be much better and would, give us more competitiveness.
what
Infrastructure
we're-
is what we need.
That's what we're gonna include
That's
on the
my opinion.
RFP for the consultants to come and study all of that and use the
How much is
technology.
it gonna cost to do a study like that? We're gonna pay somebody to do something, we already know that it'll fix it if you just make them pay a card.
Correct.
The card on there, you don't have to spend $200,000 for somebody to do a study to tell us what we already know to do.
Yes, I mean,
It's not that much, right? But
Even if it's 10,000, it's still a lot of money for something that we know how to
Yeah.
cover it without doing the study.
Maybe we need a better system that doesn't charge a 3%, and the 3% only kicks in if they have to charge the credit card. But if you have a credit card on file, it
Right.
could literally never get charged
Exactly.
if you keep a balance in your account.
That could be the
So it's
penalty.
just a backup for us not to have U-turns,
Right.
like in case let's say you always keep a $500 balance, well, you're never gonna be charged a 3% fee. You just continue your business as usual, the credit card's there. If you get to your driver gets there and there's not enough money, then they charge the credit card and you get charged at 3%. That's still cheaper than the $50 penalty. So it's not like we're trying to punish, we're trying to help.
Right.
We don't wanna charge you the fee, we just want you to keep moving your goods through it, that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Mon, and, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on the WT expansion, there's any updates, I don't know if there are.
no, I provided you the status report. We had a meeting, a binational meeting on May 11th. Mr. Fernandez, yes. We had a binational meeting where we had,
Well, I think,
if you may,
the update is we had a binational meeting on May 11th, where the biggest changes are that the personnel from Mexico that attended are the committee that is named by the governor. So those are the person that are gonna take care of the expansion. So we had Secretario de Obras Públicas, we had the Committee for Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transporte, which is the Tech Dot. Mexican Tech Dot. So they already are working on the funds, working on the funds to get the studies going. And today there was a news that the governor went to Mexico with the Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transportes, where they talk about the bridge, and they're aware and they're on the same page on working, not just on the bridge, but on the roads that communicate to the bridge. So that's good news for the expansion.
So the project is moving along. I gave you an update on the project, and I gave you the draft notes from the meeting we had with the interagency working group on the US side. So the environmental process is ongoing. And as I get these updates monthly, I will share them with them.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, anybody, any other comments on item number 4? No. Motion to go back to item number 1 and 3.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I may, before you jump to item number 1, if I can just bring up a quick comment. Mr. Gonzalez had a comment, short and sweet. He wanted information from DPS regarding citations for oversized, overweight around the World Trade Bridge area.
Correct.
Keep in mind, DPS moved out of the World Trade area in mid-2019. So, 2018, they gave out 1,188 citations. 2018, 1,188 citations, I repeat, for oversized, overweight. 2019, they were there pretty much only half the year. There was 505. 220, it went down to 19. 221, 7. 222, 0. And this year, up till April 18th, they have only given out 1 citation. So just wanted to throw that out there before we jump back to item number 1.
Thank you, sir,
Wanted to
appreciate that.
pass on that information to you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, I know, we're missing members from L&T, so we could share that information, because that was kind of pervious to them, what we were trying to move forward in reference to the weight scale, I think on the bridge, right? I think that's what we're discussing, so it's to see whether, we support or we're against. I know that some of the community is against, but I know that, at the same time, you're looking for funds, and that's just a challenge. So look at that.
Thank you.
Who's L&T?
LMC, Laredo Motor Carriers, LMC. MCA, Laredo Motor Carriers, yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure I do it. I'm throwing around with all these acronyms, man.
Okay, so we will go to item number 1, discussion with possible action regarding the Port of Entry Advisory Committee bylaws, Article 6, receive nominations, elect a new chairman and vice chairman, and any other matters incident thereto. So at this time, we would like to hold a nomination for new elected officials for chairman and vice chairman for a 1-year term.
Do chairman first?
We do chairman first? Okay, so any nomination for chairman?
But, before this nominations, would anybody like to be the chairman or like to raise your hand and be, because I know it's time consuming. Anybody would like to be?
You could raise your hand.
No me digas.
No es para dar cuenta quién.
Desde hace un año la trae la mano levantada. Levanta la mano, Arturo.
Okay, Arturo.
But let us know, would you like?
I'll accept it. For what? Chairman?
Want, you're not accepting, you're wanting to be chair. Nobody's nominated, so you're
The nomination.
nomination.
And anybody would like to be vice chair? I mean,
Would there anybody else be interested in being nominated for the position of chairman?
that being said, I'll nominate Arturo if he's willing to.
Motion to nominate, to accept the nomination for chairman. Second? Aye?
Aye.
In favor?
Aye.
And
Thank
we
you.
will now
Thank you.
need to,
To the committee. So,
For for vice chairman.
We would like to be a vice chair.
Any
Do you have any nomination for vice chair?
Anybody interested in
Anybody
the role of
interested?
vice chairman?
Vamos a poner que sean 15 días
Edgar,
de
yeah,
prueba.
Rogelio Quintanilla would like to.
Yes, I'll be nominated for
Órale, hay
vice
que-
Vice chair. I second. A motion to nominate, to accept,
Accept the nomination and
Second.
select him as vice
You're
chairman.
vice?
Huh?
You're going for vice?
Vice chairman.
Norfelio Quintanilla, for the record.
And you got first and second? Motion
Everybody,
approved?
everybody votes?
Congrats.
Except I approve. Okay.
Thank you.
So now you can take chairman?
No,
take
no, no.
chair.
No, acaba.
No, no, next meeting, next meeting.
Bueno,
Appreciate it, thank you.
We'll move to item number 3, discussion with possible action. I was afraid of that possible action word, but we didn't get a full crowd. Regarding the site selection for a new bridge for the city of Laredo and any other matters thereto. So basically, just, just to, I guess Arturo brought this up and
Get your thoughts.
get your thoughts. And we're talking about our next bridge, 15, 20 years down the road. How can we start pushing it to the ears of the city and the community so they can start kind of digesting that and looking for a plan? As we know, site locations and projects for a bridge are taking, especially here in our community, 15, 20, 25 years to get done. So we really need to get anybody involved, start action and start talking about it for, we're probably are going to be retired by that time, but we need somebody to start moving on that, and that's kind of the recommendation.
So quick question. I guess I was under the impression that that was already something moving forward.
No, we got,
The new bridge,
4-5 is, that's not 4-5, nor the expansion. This is what's following for the next 20 years.
So this is why I put this on the agenda. And there was a study that was done by Nuevo Laredo again. This was December 2021 by the Nuevo Laredo Bridge, World Trade Bridge. And there's page number 2, if we can start with page number 2. It shows some numbers that they. What's on there? I don't know. So the numbers, 2025 says 6,667 trailers on World Trade Bridge. And I think we already surpassed that. And in 2028, it says 7,429. That's only on World Trade, including Colombia. We're almost at 9,000. Right now, we're already at 10,000. So it already kind of surpassed what the study says. And so it's pretty
That's only going
critical.
northbound, right?
This is only northbound, eh? This is not southbound, this is northbound. On page number 3, in that same study, it says that, for future, that the critical saturation is gonna be 2025 to 2028, which I just gave you the numbers. And in the report that Mr. Milky gave us, it says that the bridge will be constructed in December 2027. So the saturation can be even before this bridge expansion gets done. And the reason that we're looking to the future is that bridge takes between 8 to 10 years to construct a new bridge. So what I'm saying, the 4-5 bridge has already been filed by the county and they're doing their process, but it doesn't belong to the city. So I would like to make a motion to recommend council regarding a new site for a new bridge for the city of Laredo. That's my motion for them to start looking, and that is the reason why we need a new bridge, at least to be built between 8 and 10 years from now, because the city has no say-so on the 4-5 bridge.
But will we benefit from the 4-5 bridge?
I have nothing to do with the city.
No, I mean like volumes and congestion and, like, business is one thing, but the industry?
I have no idea. We've never seen any studies. We've never seen anything from that bridge. They've never shared anything with us. but we have to look into the future.
I think it's something to discuss,
But you make a motion, you make a second, and then we can discuss everything. Yeah,
Make a motion to
Second.
bring,
I will
bring it up.
Motion? Second? Okay, now we can debate everything you want. Okay. Ahora sí, ¿verdad?
well, I think it's something that we have to look into. I've never seen a study for the 405 bridge until right now. Will it help the industry? What we have right now, I think it won't, because where it's located at. And I think most of the importers into the US would choose the Columbia Bridge instead of, because it's closer to all the industrial parks here in Laredo, Texas, than going all the way around through the loop and outer loop that has to be done to come into the industrial parks. So it's something that has to be taken into consideration.
At what point do you say, how are we gonna build another bridge in the north when Columbia's not at full capacity? I mean, it's an honest question, that's.
I agree with you. The only thing is 10 years from now. What would be the picture of Colombia in 10 years?
So we're taking into consideration that Columbia's gonna be at full cap.
No, Rick, considering just the volumes that we have, just to prepare for the future, just a recommendation. So, I mean, I think we should move forward because
Of course.
the Valley and El Paso, I mean, El Paso has more bridges than us. And considering that we have, and I'm talking about our neighboring partner, Laredo, the population is a lot greater than is here in Laredo. I'm just thinking for the future, we need something. So, and that's just a recommendation to have something to move forward with.
It's the idea that we have to think towards the future.
Yep.
Columbia is already the second largest, or highest volume bridge on the southern border. So it's above El Paso, it's above the Valley, it's second. And so we're already growing. For southbound, during our pilot study for the rerouting stuff, we were getting numbers every day. And there were 3 days during that week where we hit over 11,000 trucks southbound. So, and we did 10,000 trucks northbound. So we're at 21,000 trucks, and that's only gonna be growing.
Oh, yeah.
So Columbia will hit its saturation point at some time,
Yeah.
but we can't wait until it gets there before we start thinking about the next one.
Oh, no, I agree, but
So that's the discussion
I
here
think
is-
my response was north or south. I agree with everything that we're saying, it's just.
Hey, you know what,
he said-
going up north and dealing with a lot of the customs officials, the projection, I mean, because of everything that's happening in China, everything's going to Mexico, and the projection is just growing.
Oh, no, that's-
So we need something, and we gotta think in the future, and it's just a
He
recommendation.
made a comment about North Laredo or South Laredo. The South, the 4-5 not being beneficial, so bring it to the north. That's what we were talking about. We all agree that it's beneficial to have more bridges.
Well, we all agree that we need as many bridges as we can. That's for sure.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is that bridge doesn't belong to the city. So we have to
That's a
look.
good point.
We're gonna look
We
back
can't
to the
discuss
city.
it, I mean, 'cause it's not part of the city.
So
No,
that was a
but
recommendation.
that's done. What we're trying to just head is recommend for something, the city as another committee or something on the bridge for them to start looking at
Another bridge.
another
for the
bridge
city.
somewhere, bring in whatever studies they need to do for the next 20 years, and that's, go ahead.
Rosario Cabello again for the record. So in discussing some of these things internally, and we believe that updating our current study for location and traffic counts would be a very good start to be able to assist us in finding that location and answering your questions, north, south, wherever it is, updating that. I know it's very important. I came to you a little while ago telling you about the resolution that we have, because the bridge that ultimately is a golden goose for the city. It keeps our property taxes low. Ultimately, it helps bridge infrastructure, et cetera. So we need to protect our asset. So ensuring that we plan for the future with this study that we want to be able to recommend to you all to continue and to do this, the location and the count is a very good first step in our opinion. So I
Was
hope.
there not a study done when we were
There
talking about
was,
4-5?
it was done about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago. So it's good to be able to update the numbers again and to be able to update the locations again. I'm sure that we'll ask for more than one location site. What is occurring in the current location is that it is within our ETJ, but it's outside of our city limits. It'll have to be another hurdle that we will have to cross at that point. In hindsight, I think that we should have really considered the location the very first time council went and recommended the negotiations. Internally, staff has tried working it out with Mr. Glafiro Montemayor. We have not come to a good resolution right now. They're going to go ahead and work with the county first and then come back to the city and see how we can assist in that 4-5 for now. So it would just be to our best interest to be able to go back and see what our study says and move forward with planning for the future of a 6-7 bridge or whatever.
So it was the same location that the county filed for, is the same location that the
That
city
is the
filed?
location, that is the location.
And what is the probability that this county will get approved for that bridge? Because
There
it's
were-
usually not a
well,
county that gets the funds
the-
from, it's usually municipalities, cities that do that.
What is currently the site location, the private entity already has the land for the Mexican side and has purchased the land on the US side. So we cannot negotiate, or we don't have that authority to negotiate any land deals at this point. So it's up to the landowner at this point to be able to decide who he wants to negotiate at this point.
And like World Trade was donated, no? The
It was a
property
donation.
It was a
Dr.
donation.
Just for clarity, what was your motion again?
The motion, let me go back to the motion.
bring up a study.
Regarding the site to select for a new bridge for the city of Laredo.
You know, just as mentioned earlier, I think that you should amend that just to say for the study, so we can move forward with that, updating that study, because being 5 years old, there's so much that are involved, and we can make that recommendation for the study, so we can go ahead and start making a coherent decision, you know, so.
I have a question. What were the locations that the study revealed on that, it was more than one?
You remember? Yes, there were several locations. I don't recall at this point, but there was 2 or 3 locations, and council was able to come in and select one. I remember there was a lot of cluster brokers and freight forwarders who came in and said, let's work on this site, and then council approved that particular site.
All
Do
within
we have
city
a copy
council?
of it?
All within city limits?
Not all of them, there were different locations back then.
Can we get a copy of that
Yes, of course,
report?
I believe we could do that, yes.
Again, it's just recommending that it continues, the study continues, refreshes, and looks out for the next site for the next 15, 20 years, with the data, with the new data that we have.
Right.
And keep it in the item to discuss for the next week, if there's any updates.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
The motion is there, the motion is to update this, I'll amend the motion. To update the study and to look for a new site for the new bridge. That's my motion.
I second.
Second.
Well, our motion is supposed to be to recommend, not, we don't control the study.
Recommend.
We recommend.
We recommend.
We only
That's what we
recommend.
did. That's what we did.
Yeah. Recommend, so motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay. So that's for our item 5. Now going to item number 6, other business. Anybody have anything for other business? Yes, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, no, last meeting, we had some commitments to, because we were trying to work on the CT patent and the AEO program in Mexico. And I know there were some commitments that were stated that they were going to provide names or companies that we could work with. When I was up there in DC, I was dealing with Manny Garza, who is out. He sit there and he committed that they're going to come down Laredo, which they have, to do 75 inspections. I believe they did 70 for revalidations and validations. The only thing that there's an issue is, a lot of people think that, hey, man, I'm going to get in line and move forward. They have to certify themselves, complete the process so they can get certified, so they get validated. So in the new companies, you know, Mr. Manny Garza has moved on to another port now, but in the meantime, they got another individual that's going to be very helpful as well that I'm looking forward to. They haven't announced the name publicly. But with that being said, I still think we can push forward for the new companies. I know I already got a commitment from Mr. Fernandez, and I know the Laredo Motor Carriers was going to give me some names as well, but they have not. So I'm hoping that we can get some commitments and some names so I could bring that up to the new director for CT Pat and tell him, hey, I've got these names, how we doing, and can we look at these companies so we can kind of get more involvement, taking into consideration that we're at 30, and this is a high number, 30% for the fast lanes. There's room for growth and there's room for improvement here crossing through World Trade Bridge. And I know there's small to mid-sized companies that are waiting in line, but I don't know what their status is. That's privileged information. If they can go ahead and move forward and let me know that that they're certified, they're just waiting for the validation so they can come down and do the visit and do the validation process.
Are any of those companies Mexican companies? Like-
They're all Mexican companies because they went to Nuevo Laredo, believe it or not. They didn't, they stay here, and a lot of this has been security concerns.
So now
I
they're
know-
doing it on this side?
No, they're doing it on Nuevo Laredo
Okay,
side.
all right, yeah,
But
gotcha.
now that Mr. Garza is out, I gotta find out the new guy, I believe he's out of Miami, so he's a good guy moving forward and wants to increase the involvement because he knows I'm always bringing it up. And he knows our concern, and I think, you know, as long as I get assistance from our group, that we can kind of go ahead and provide more information so we can go ahead and get those new companies in there as well.
Now, one question. Does the industry, la maquiladora, also a actor here that needs to be on the same page than the motor carriers?
They are, because I know that they're more than the carriers, but the carriers is, I mean, they're more important than the carriers because they require.
So do we need to bring in?
If we can, it
Index
would help
or
out.
the
You know,
manufacturer?
because both the manufacturers here on the border, and I'm talking mainly Nuevo Laredo.
Correct.
And the carriers. So, I mean, the more involvement I can get, and the more names I can bring to them, I can sit there and share that information, say, hey, we have this need and help us out, and we can see what we can do, so.
So we could bring in Index, which
Yes.
is the association?
But the one thing that's a misunderstanding, everybody thinks, hey, I want to be part of the program.
No.
There's a process, they have to
course.
certify themselves first, and they
We have
fill
to
out a-
educate them, yeah.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. And then we'll move out to section number 7 for schedule and next meeting date.
Oh,
Yes. Sorry.
MPO.
Hi, everyone. For the record, Juan Mendive, I'm the MPO director.
Welcome. And yes.
Orlando Navarro, Planning Director for City of Laredo.
Thank you all. I know we didn't sign up for public comments, but just wanted to take the opportunity, let you all know that, you know, you mentioned the HR Ruthinger project. That project is moving along, even though there's a big funding gap, right? But through the MPO and with partnering with TxDOT, we've been able to find the financing for that. An important step is happening tomorrow in Austin at the Texas Transportation Commission, and we're gonna be in attendance, myself, Mr. Navarro, and Mr. Ramon Chavez from the city. It's basically a resolution, what they call a minute order, to designate the road as a state highway. They're gonna designate it as State Highway 84. That's an important next step to be able to utilize the state's funding and to allow the state to construct that road. It should be a pretty straightforward item. You know, it's just like a resolution, but we're gonna be there just in case anything comes up, and just to make sure that the commission realizes how important this project is to us. Also in June, on June 29th, there's gonna be another meeting in Austin, the Texas Transportation Commission, and it's open to the public, so if any of you would like to attend, you could make that drive up to Austin. They're gonna be discussing the Unified Transportation Program, which is the funding for the next 10 years. And the HR road project is there, as well as Vallecillo and other important projects, so it's an important meeting to attend, and we're planning to attend that as well with some of our policy committee members.
What is that?
That's June 29th.
It's not in the UTP yet either, or
That's when they're gonna release the draft UTP for 2024.
they're not in there yet.
Which one?
They're not in the list.
Uh,
Vallecillo, ni
Vallecillo is on the,
EHR.
Vallecillo's on the list.
On the UTP?
Yeah, it was added, that's where when the MPO provided some money, they were able to add that project. But I think they're still looking at the overpass. I know Mr. Brown from the RMA was asking for some information just to make sure that that overpass that TxDOT had mentioned that they wanted to help fund once Vallecillo gets constructed at I-35, to see if that will be included.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, and good luck
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other item for other business? Nope. Okay, so we go on to item number 7, schedule next meeting date. Last time we had talked about that we were gonna go ahead and do a 2-month.
Bi-monthly?
Excuse me?
Bi-monthly?
Yes, bi-monthly meetings, and this is the first time we selected this hour. Instead of the 6 o'clock, we moved it to 10. If everybody's okay with it, we repeat the 10 a.m. and then just put it out for the next 2 months. Excuse me? ¿Está bien, todos? We'll try it again at 10 a.m. And then July 24th is a Monday, July 26th or the 19th, whatever works best for anybody.
19th?
July 19th?
19th.
Okay,
10 a.m.
at 10 a.m. July 19th at 10 a.m. Motion
I so move.
Second, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now item number 8, vote for adjournment.
Motion adjourned?
Aye.
11:21.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. Thank you for Supervisor Juan, Orlando.